Hey, what's up? Welcome to another Loopic tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be showing to you how you can make a simple sport intro graphic. The graphic will contain of an image sequence that has been exported from After Effects as a PNG sequence, 2 image loaders and a few text fields. We can see what we'll be creating right here in this quick start menu if you just click on the Sport Intro demo project. As you can see, it is a pretty simple graphic. Nothing spectacular here, few text fields, image loaders, sequence background, and a background guide. Alright, so let's get started by creating a new project. No, I don't want to save this. The first thing I'm gonna import here is an image sequence. I have this image sequence exported from After Effects and it is about 34 frames long. Select all the images by clicking Ctrl+A keyboard shortcut or just by clicking all the images with the mouse and then just click Open. The image sequence is automatically imported as a new layer and now it looks like a video animation. The goal will be to stop the animation playback on frame 34 and then fade out till frame 40. So let's do that first. I will click on this stop and outro button that will automatically add a new action on this frame saying to stop the animation and that this frame is our outro frame. Now we need to expand this layer to 6 more frames. Those 6 frames should be exactly the same as frame 34, but it should be easily fading out. So how to expand the image sequence? It's extremely simple with Loopic. All you need to do is just click on this edge and just drag the edge to the frame 40, and that's it. This hatchet texture here means that these frames are just frozen frames of the last available frame of this image sequence. I will also shrink this workspace area to frame 40. Now let's play it and see if it's looking alright. Okay, so far so good. I will set the name of this composition. Intro, 30 FPS, 1080 seems alright. Also, let's rename this sequence layer to background. Now I'm gonna lock it so I don't accidentally move it, and I will import a stadium image that will be just a guide. Move it to the background, set it as a guide and lock it. Now let's add the text. Move the text, set the color, change the font size, position it in the middle and center it. The ID should be T1 name and set the content to home theme. Now we need a font. For this example I will use EXO font again. Click on the plus button and select the fonts. Now I can select EXO fonts from the fonts drop-down menu. Now duplicate this layer and move it to the right. Change its ID to T2 name and change the content to away theme. To make sure that they are perfectly aligned with each other, firstly click on the left one, hold down the Ctrl key and click on the right one. And now the alignment panel should appear on the right side. Click on this icon that aligns both items horizontally. Perfect. Now let's duplicate this element again. Move it down, change font size to 24 and font family just to EXO2. Change the ID to label and the content to something like Soccer League or Football Cup. It doesn't matter. Now duplicate it again, move it down and I'm using arrow keys. Set the ID to date and a content to anything you want. Maybe reduce the font size even more to something like 20. Okay, this is looking okay. Now let's add some image loaders. Make it 360 by 360 like this. The ID should be T1 image. Duplicate it, move it to the right and set the ID to T2 image. align them horizontally. And now, in the composition settings, we can see the list of all our dynamic image loaders and tags. And this is very handy if you have many IDs in your template and you just want to check them. Image loaders actually have some special properties, as you can see on the right side. There are image size and placeholder image drop-down menus. You can control what will be the size of the loaded image. It is probably best to keep it by default to contain, but if you want, you have some other options here as well. For example, you can stretch it or you can keep the original size. And placeholder image is just an image for a preview. This is here just to make working easier. So we can see what the graphic will look like with some logos. It's easier to work with some images than with just plain gray rectangles. Let's just click on play to see if it's all playing well. The only thing we need to do now is the animation, and that is really simple. Firstly, I want these images to slide up and for their opacity to go from 0 to 100. Let's also rename these image loaders. So open Transform Properties and add keyframes for the Y property. Now go to frame 25 and set the keyframe again. Now, with the arrow keys, you can move these elements to the bottom. And not to forget the opacity. Add opacity keyframes as well. Let's preview this now. Okay, looking good, nothing spectacular, but it's working. And there is one more final touch that we can add to this simple animation, and that is the easing effect. We can change this linear Y animation to have some easing, for example. And to change from linear to easing, it's super simple. Just click on this linear label here, and from the drop-down menu, select any kind of ease you want. For this, I believe the best will be ease out easing. I have applied this change only to the element on the right so you can spot the difference between linear and ease out animation. The animation has a little bit smoother finish and looks fancier if you ask me. So I will do the same to another element as well. Know that you can always experiment with other properties if you want. Let's make animations for team names. Also, rename those layers. Open Transform Properties and animate the opacity from 0 to 100. Okay, it looks fine. Now just do the same for the label and for the date. Also rename those layers. Let's preview. And now finally just the last step, the outro. It will be very simple, just a fade out effect. We can easily make a fade out effect by selecting all the layers and going to Transform Opacity and setting a keyframe on this frame 34. Now on frame 40, add a keyframe and set the opacity to 0. Actually, I have accidentally changed the opacity of the guide, which is not what I want, so I will just delete those keyframes with the delete button. Let's just close all the properties for now. And play it. Okay, looking good, that's pretty much it. Now let's export the graphic and play it with CasparCG. Click on Export and choose a folder. Give all the permissions to the Loopic so it can write to that folder, and that's it. The graphic has been exported. Alright, so I have CasparCG client opened as well as a CasparCG server running. What I have done is I have just added this intro graphic to the rundown, and I have added some template data. As you can see, the template data here uses the same keys as the graphic. As you can see, I have names and paths to the images. You can notice that one is a PNG and the other one is SVG. This will work in this case because this is an HTML graphic and we are not using Flash anymore. So no more loading, anti-aliasing or other similar issues. Also, please notice that this second theme's name is longer. Actually, I have a typo here. Let me fix it. Long. Okay, it's pretty long. Let's play the graphic. Okay, here it is. Images loaded perfectly and the theme names fit our text element borders. Let's stop the graphic. Yes, the outro is working just fine as well. And that's it. That's it for this tutorial. Please make sure that if you're using this CasparCG client for sending images paths, then just make sure that your paths only contain slashes and not backslashes or double backslashes. So just one slash for each directory like I'm using here, and it should be fine. If you have any questions, any problems, or any kind of feedback, feel free to write it in the comment section below. Or if you have some more complicated problems, feel free to send an email or contact us via social networks. You can find more information on our website. So, till next time, bye.